What is up, guys, and welcome back to Foley's Fitness. So this is the second podcast of many podcasts I'm going to be doing moving forwards, and I think podcasts are a great way to, share your experiences with other influencers and how we can all live our lives in a better way. I mean, the amount of times I've been driving to work and I've been listening to podcasts is crazy, and to actually do one right now is pretty badass, to be honest. I think this is going to be the start of something special moving forwards. And today we are joined by Adil Muscle. Do you want to give a few words of introduction to yourself, man?
Yeah, bro, thanks for having me. We actually did, I think, 2 videos in the past. One was on my channel. It was strength tips with the strongman himself. And then I think on your video, we had like a motivational thing. So basically on my channel, I give tips on how to build muscle and how to lose fat. So yeah, so today we're going to be talking about training in a home gym. And I have a home gym. Daniel just bought a home gym recently, so it should be good.
Okay, so I guess we can get into this right now. So training at home, I mean, the last 4 weeks on lockdown has been pretty mental. Me and my brother, we were thinking to ourselves, like, for the foreseeable future, everything's going to be shut down. Even going to stores is such a hassle right now. I was trying to get some pizza bases today to make some pizza as a cheat meal, and the queue was like a mile long. I'm not even joking, right? So things have changed. Things have changed massively, and I think this is really a chance for us to adapt. No matter where you are on the spectrum, be that you have a very poor home gym setup to the other side of having your own treadmills, multiple squat racks, and if you can join on the spectrum somewhere, it's open based. It doesn't matter what equipment you have, you can do it equipmentless. Training at home, we all have to adapt. So sharing my experiences on it right now. So it was about, 4 weeks ago, me and my brother, we decided to buy a squat rack. It was a pretty cheap one from eBay. It cost us about £150 each. And it's really an investment because the way it was going, training, weeks without a gym, what's going to happen, man? What's going to happen if you don't train? All of those years of hard work and experience is going to go down the drain. So even if there's something you can do to mitigate that and at least maintain what you built up, that's the ideal situation. So when I was younger, when I was like 16, 17, believe it or not, I actually had some weights left over from when I was a kid. So what I've done is I've put those weights into the home gym setup. So we have about, I think, 75, maybe even 80 kilos worth of weights. And these are like really micro plates, but altogether it weighs a pretty decent amount, accompanied with like a 1-inch bar. It's not ideal. I actually do have a proper weightlifting bar, which I got for free from a leisure center I used to work at. I used to be a swimming teacher, if you guys know. So it's good that I've got my own proper bar, but the bar that I have right now, I guess it works. But buying weights now is such a big hassle. And I guess Adil can kind of like explain why, the price has gone up so much, how he bought his gym for a cheap price in comparison to the thousands of pounds of what it is right now. So it would be good to hear your thoughts, man, on like what's your current home gym setup, how you find training in your home gym, and what it's like moving forward given this crisis. Because as I like to say, it really is an investment, because without getting into the politics of what's going on, regardless of what everybody's saying, it appears from an external perspective that this is going to be the start of a long-term sort of thing where this virus is going to magically pop back and there's going to be vaccinations across the board. It seems pretty crazy stuff, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So if there's a level of adaptation that we need to make it right now, because if the government's been able to shut down everything in a matter of weeks, think about what's going to happen in the future when this returns next winter.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I mean, the annoying thing about the situation that we're in is the uncertainty, right? We just don't know when it's going to end. So if we are to think, perhaps you could say more of in a negative way, that's going to be much longer than expected, then in that case, perhaps it would be useful in investing in a home gym. But on the other hand, someone might argue that it is going to be only a temporary thing. We're in lockdown, and eventually people will be able to go to gyms. So in that case, the argument would be not to invest in something if you don't have anything already. I think that just depends person to person, right? We're not, whilst we are, fitness advisors, if you like, we are most definitely not financial advisors, huh? So I'm not going to tell people. I'm not going to tell people whether they should invest or not, or to what extent they should invest. One thing I would say though is that I think that having certain things, such as like a pull-up bar, that is something that you could benefit from even when you are going to the gym, right? It's just a basic essential. So I think certain, or even like a few dumbbells, right? Maybe even a bench, stuff like this could be beneficial during lockdown, outside of lockdown. Other than that, I would just say that it was all just down to personal preference. Like I personally got my home gym years ago, like I think 2 or 3 years ago. So I did used to train in an actual gym before, but then I brought it home just because that's just what I prefer. And if you're willing to make the investment and you want to do it long term, then I would say go for it. I would say perhaps so basically to kind of conclude whether they should get a home gym or not, I would say get it like not based on this situation, just based on if you would have done so anyway. Because as I said, I would have done so, which I did do so already, because it also saves me a lot of time from going to the gym and coming back. It's just more convenient. It's not really, I didn't necessarily even get it for the cost. That's not even why I did it. Yes, it's an investment, but in terms of saving money, that's not really why I did it either, because I may save money right as time goes on, but so far I don't think I've saved much yet. Because you could get a home gym, you could get a gym membership as cheap as like £15, depending on the gym you go. And if you do that, and that means you're only spending like £150 a year, then my home gym, the issue with it is that you are gonna need to over time renew your buy some new equipment if stuff break, etc. And so far I've probably spent nearly £1,000, and that might go up to 1,000 and more. So truth be told, in terms of saving money, it just depends like on the quality you get, and probably that's not the reason you'd want to get it. You'd want to get it for other reasons. So I'd say, and those reasons I would say are not maybe shouldn't necessarily be affected by COVID-19. But in terms of investing because of COVID-19, I'd say then that's just an individual basis. It just depends on you. And maybe you could invest in at least a few small things, as I mentioned before, such as pull-up bar and a few dumbbells and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from my perspective, I think that if anybody could have predicted, the spread of the COVID virus, I mean, we'd all be millionaires right now, because how much weights are costing is pretty crazy. Yeah. And many of my mates, that I know in person, they're really struggling right now because there's no weights available. All the weights are sold out. I'm only lucky that I had some weights. I know it's not the best, but at least I had something before, and I'm now able to integrate that into my home gym setup. So I think really what it comes down to is seeing where on the spectrum you are and having a little bit of adaptation. So for instance, if you're not going to have a home gym or you don't have any weights to start with, maybe it's not a good idea, because yes, it's going to cost a lot of money. But if you have something like, say, for instance, you have a bar hanging around, you have some plates, why not go for it, man? Because it's not only an investment, it's something for life, right? If you ever, whenever you move out of your house, when you get older, whenever you have your own garage or something, you can actually have your own home gym setup. And to be completely honest, training at home is actually a bit more preferable than training at the gym sometimes. Like, yes, the quality and the amount of equipment you can use is limited, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to getting in those hard sessions, it works better, man. And I've experienced that myself, because it's like, it's just me by myself training, and I don't have anyone to talk to or anybody to distract me. So I'm there focusing hard. And yes, the weight is a lot less than ideal, but I'm still getting in some sick workouts. So, I mean, let's really next talk about like how people can adapt to this current situation with this virus. So let's say, for instance, like someone has 500 pounds. Where could they start off with 500 pounds? Bearing in mind that I've only spent, I would say, between me and my brother, we spent about 300 pounds on the rack, and then we spent 50 pounds on a mirror. And we would like to get some more weights, but obviously, given the situation, weights are sold out. So, I mean, moving forwards with the idea in mind that this virus is going to come back at some point and there's going to be a second round, where do you think people should start off thinking about the ideal equipment to use? I mean, from my perspective, it would be compounds, but pull-ups as well. But it would definitely be interesting to hear from someone that's been training at home for a while. What is the best bang for your buck, man?
Yeah, so as I said, if someone is going to go for the long-term kind of thing, then I'd say you really need to focus on the essentials, the main compound movements. So you'd want to invest in a squat rack so you can do your squats. And you can actually, in that squat rack, you could also do your bench press there. Like I have like the safety pins in case anything goes wrong when I'm doing my bench press. I can just drop the bar on the rack. So yeah, you want to also buy a bench, obviously, for your bench presses. You want to obviously the barbells. This is a no-brainer, right? For deadlifts, bench press, squats, overhead press. These main movements. But then you'd also want dumbbells for your other exercises with each of those same muscles. So, for example, with shoulders, other than your overhead press, there's still numerous other exercises you can do with dumbbells. And even you'd actually need dumbbells, I'd say, because certain muscles, like let's say with shoulders, with your side delts, you're not going to be able to target them properly without dumbbells. You're going to have to do side lateral raises. So yeah, so I'd say dumbbells, you need a bench also, a squat rack, a barbell, and then obviously plates for the dumbbells and for the barbells. And then if you did, like, for example, with me, I can also do deadlifts because I got a horse mat. So if you want to go all out on that level where you also want to do deadlifts, then that's something that you'd also consider. Maybe a mirror, like you mentioned, you have a mirror. I personally find mirrors distracting, so I just don't have a mirror. I also don't really have that much space for a mirror, in all honesty, as well. But yeah, man, in terms of cost, again, as I said before, I don't know. It just depends on how serious someone wants to go with it.
Yeah, and judging from the transformation that I've seen, within yourself, training at home isn't necessarily what people first think it is. I mean, home gyms, actually, when you come to think about it, they are probably better than actual gyms because it's just you and the weights and your music. You don't have to go for the whole ordeal of driving to the gym, signing up for a membership. And you know what? I'll tell you what, guys, driving to the gym, I mean, the amount of near miss crashes that I've been in because of driving to the gym is pretty crazy. So it's not only that, it's the stress, of just preparing everything. The amount of times I've actually left my wrist wraps and my elbow sleeves at home is crazy, right? Like, yeah, the situation at home with this current setup is pretty bad. I mean, it's a home gym that's probably maybe 30%, 50% complete because of the squat rack, but I still need more bars. I've got a proper bar, but I just need some plates. But I think the whole gist of what I'm trying to say is that, yes, it is an actual proper investment, man. Myself, I'm lucky because I have a athlete membership, so it only costs me 35 quid a month to go to the gym. But for other people out here who are paying £60 to even £100, when you take a step back and you realize the cost savings over time, it is very significant. I mean, let's say, for instance, someone's training in some top-notch gym, let's say £100 a month. I mean, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. I mean, you're looking at £500 across 5 months, and that could get you a semi-decent home gym. Yes, you're not going to have leg press. Even Adil said himself, he doesn't have like a leg press machine or anything special, but it's the compounds, and the compounds is what is going to make the difference. And
sorry, but you just basically need the main things that are, like, the equipment I have are enough for me to make the same amount of progress that I would have made if I was going to an actual gym with all the other equipment. Me doing leg press or doing lat pull downs, to be honest, that's not really gonna really gonna make a significant difference to my physique versus doing just the compounds. Not really.
Mm-hmm. And I think as well, like, there's a bit of a misconception about home gym, because even from myself personally, when this whole situation came up and I was talking to my brother about it, we were kind of like, you think about a home gym, you think about how uneasy and unaccessible it is, but in reality, it's only going to cost you a few £100. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'd actually recommend you go onto Gumtree, and if it's possible, you should buy secondhand during the second crisis. I would recommend buying firsthand as always, because you want to make sure equipment's on point. But given the price points and the massive increases in weights, it's probably best to look online and see what's available, because yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money, but it's an investment. And there's a big difference between people right now who are just wanting to invest in a home gym and people like Adil who have that set up already. So I would guess for you, it's business as normal, it's gains every day, all day. But for some people like myself, it's a bit of a massive change. And like for me personally, I guess what I'm going to ask you next is the sort of adaptation that I can do. So for instance, yeah, I only have like 70 kilos worth of weights. I can probably put on 30 kilos each side on the dumbbell. I've been adapting. So instead of just doing lunges back and forth in the confines of a gym, I've been walking up and down my side alleyway. So, doing those lunges and even into the garden, right? And I haven't felt this sore like ever since I started training. So when you factor in the adaptation that you can do with a home setup, it actually does become quite incredible. So it'd be interesting to hear like how you've discovered different exercises in a home setup rather than just a gym where you're limited to. I would say in a gym you're actually limited to thinking conventionally in terms of this is a chest press machine. This is that. I mean, this current situation, it enables people to have some flexibility and discover what's going to work best for them. And that's another thing as well for myself. I went from being not bad at pull-ups to now excelling at pull-ups and doing pretty good, like doing 15 reps and 4 sets, because I've now been doing pull-ups 3 times a week. So it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on like what's the out there exercises that you can do that people wouldn't normally think of because they've always been limited to machines. Let's say, for instance.
Yeah, so I'd say for me personally, as you mentioned, it's been business as normal. So I haven't really had to change anything right now. But what I would say though, and I guess this could be especially relevant with even bodyweight training, and I think we should probably leave some time for talking about that as well, right? But like talking about people, because some people may not get any equipment, and I think it's good to cover how to go about it if you have no equipment or very little equipment. And I'd say especially when you don't have any equipment at all or very little equipment, that is when you're going to need to really try and adapt your best and maybe think outside the box and be a bit creative. So I'd say that actually my last YouTube video is a full body home workout routine. And I tried it myself as well. I didn't just do the exercises and put it on YouTube. No, rather I actually did the workout, and I did it in the video. I say to do it twice a week, and I did it twice a week. And instead of weightlifting, even though I could have weightlifted at home, I decided, let me try it and see if it actually is good before I upload it on Instagram and YouTube. So I did that, and I think it is pretty good. So I had to be creative. So for example, with what I did is the workout consisted of 1 or 2 exercises per muscle group, and you do about 3 sets of each exercise, and you take it close to failure. So like maybe you could leave a rep or 2 in the tank. And so I did for chest dips with just chairs. And then with and you can invest in, like, for example, the weight lift, the belts that allow you to add weight on. I personally just did it, but sometimes I use that, and sometimes I just kind of go body weight till failure, because as you mentioned too, like this could be a good opportunity to get good at certain body weight exercises that you perhaps would have neglected before. So dips is one of them.
Definitely.
And then and then push-ups is pretty good too, and you can always add resistance. So if you have a weight plate, or even if you get your friend to kind of push your back down a bit, or you can go one arm push up, etc., stuff like this. And then you have variations of push-ups. So in my video, I do a pike push-up, which targets the shoulders more. Close grip push-up, or diamond push-up as they're called, will target the triceps more. And then I think then my workout, it continued into training back. So then for back, and this obviously targets biceps as well, I was doing pull-ups. And then here's where I got creative. With inverted rows, I used the tables. So I used the table. So basically how that is, I mean, if someone knows what inverted row is, then they would probably be able to figure out what I mean by it.
Like a pull-up, but halfway, right? So
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So usually you're laying down on the ground. If you were doing a gym, you'd be laying down, and you'd go to either the Smith machine or with an actual barbell you put in a rack, and then you pull yourself up from there. So what I did is, even though again obviously I have a squat rack and a barbell, I wanted to show how other people who have no equipment can do it, and you can use a table. So you can lay down on the ground, go like almost halfway underneath the table, where your chest is kind of in line with the table and your head is sticking out, and you basically put your hands above you outside the table, and you grip it and you pull yourself up. So little things like this. And then also with even with lunges and with squats and stuff and other exercises, you can just literally fill up something like for example, you could just put loads of books in a rucksack, for example, in a backpack, and you could pretty much get it up to about 5-10 kilos with that, and then do squats or push-ups or whatever, any exercise really.
I would say that's definitely some really good advice, man, about how people can optimize training at home. And I would say, leading off what you're saying, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, everybody, let's be real about it. Yes, it does suck to train at home for some people, aka myself. But with that being said, you have to get creative, and getting creative means thinking outside the box. And yes, it's easy. I've seen a lot of people online. I've seen Mike Thurston. Do you know Mike Thurston, the bodybuilder?
I think I've seen him before. Yeah.
So like he's I think he's based in the Middle East right now, and basically this guy's been picking up so much hate online because he has everything, right? He has everything available. So he's bought his own home gyms, multiple home gyms and dumbbells and stuff like that. What you have times 10, man. So at the end of the day, like, people do want to hate on this guy because the amount of stuff he has. But let's be real about it. This is someone that's put out so much informational content about how you can train at home. And just because someone may have a home gym set up, it doesn't mean that you don't have the potential to train at home yourself. And what I'm going to say to the people out there is from my own experience. When I was a kid, I used to have one of those pull-up bars you screw into the wall, right? And I was doing pull-ups. You've got to set yourself a challenge, because the reason why people lose gains, especially when they're training at home, yes, there's going to be a slight decrease unless it's business as normal for you. But what I'm going to say is that you need to make sure you have a clear-cut goal, and your goal should be to do something creative and interesting. For instance, make it a goal to do 500 pull-ups in one session. Make it a goal to do maybe 600 push-ups set across the space of an hour or something. Because unless you're changing, unless you're challenging your body, you are going to lose progress. And yeah, training at home, it means the weights are a lot less, but this is where you need to get more creative, and that could mean higher reps and more sets. So it comes down to finding out that balance. But yeah, definitely very interesting, man.
Yeah, bro. I think that really people can, if you're going to try, if you really put the effort in, then there's no doubt that people can maintain their gains to the best of their ability, 100%, if they're doing the stuff that you mentioned, right? If you're still pushing your body, you're taking each set close to failure, then obviously it's not ideal, because you're not lifting with the same amount of weight, or even if you're lifting with no weight, you're going body weight. But as long as you're pushing your body close to failure, then you will, and you pick the right exercises. You don't do stupid things. I don't know if you've seen like this influencers, they've been doing stupid, dumb things where they pick up their phone and they're like, hey, I'm gonna do tricep extensions and stupid stuff. You're not gonna see any games doing that, right? That's just stupid. Or pick up your dog and different stuff like that. It's no to those things. But if you're gonna actually push your body close to failure, we're doing actual good resistance movement exercises, but body weight, like your push-ups and dips and stuff, then you can pretty much maintain most of your gains.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I mean, this is the whole point of this podcast, is to raise awareness about what you can do at home, because, a lot of my friends right now, they're sitting back at home and they don't really understand, the mechanisms of how you can do stuff. I mean, for instance, myself, as someone that lifts a lot of weight on a regular basis, it feels like I'm not myself anymore. This is where the adaptation comes in, and doing something that is at least within your reach, because there's no point of being a little bitch and complaining about something that you can't change.
Yeah.
We can't change this current corona situation. And to be brutally honest, if there's something we can do in between now and then, that's all the better. And I think really, talking from a motivational perspective, what is within your control, you must do it, because when things return back to normal, you need to put yourself a step ahead of everybody else. And yeah, it may be depressing. Yeah, it may suck. Yeah, it may not be ideal, but at least do something, because doing something is better than doing nothing. It's like, for instance, right? You see a fat person, what's worse? A fat person that's just a fat person, or a fat person that's trying to lose weight and trying to exercise, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, as we say, if there's a will, there's a way, right? If you really want it, then you're gonna come up with something. And if you don't really want it, you're simply going to come up with excuses. You're just going to say, oh, I couldn't because of the virus. But really, you can, and even if it's not something, obviously, someone needs to be realistic and balanced, have a balanced mindset as well. So, and that's exactly what we've kind of demonstrated. Because on one hand, yeah, someone could go all out and invest in stuff. But fine, if someone says, okay, I don't want to do that. Okay, fine, no problem, don't do that. but do your body weight stuff. So there's always something that you can do.
Mm-hmm. And why don't we talk a little bit about shopping, man? So, from my perspective, it's been business as normal. I'm not the sort of person that walks down to the shop 5 times a week to get lunch every single day or dinner every single day. I'm the sort of person that rolls up to the supermarket in my car, literally grabs the trolley and throws it inside the car with all of the stuff inside of it. So I think shopping as well. I mean, even today, right? I had this situation where I was trying to get some pizza bases to make some pizzas, right? The queue was going to be at least an hour long. So I think we need to change our perspective about how we go shopping. And really, when it comes down to it, as bodybuilders, as fitness, influencers and people in that sort of area, it is crucial to go shopping and to go do shopping well. And that means having a solid plan of what you want to get in the shop. So for instance, your carbohydrates, your proteins, you want to be having a set out plan, because this is the issue I see within many people. They look for short term. What is this ready-made meal I can buy tonight? What is this? What is that? You need to be thinking long term. And because that's the main thing about fitness. Fitness is 90%. I'm not going to say 90%. It's probably 65% plus nutrition. So what's your thoughts on the diet side of things, man, and how that's changed because of the virus? People thinking more long term.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, bro. I think that really the virus, it ought to open people's minds on many different things in life, but we're not going to go into a whole life things, but we'll stick on the fitness. But yeah, even like with healthy eating, right? Like, for example, we know that there's certain food, like I've been reading, like, for example, vitamin D and different stuff like this can help boost immunity and stuff like that. So if someone was already making sure they're getting the vitamins and minerals in, then they are less likely to obviously get the virus or be badly affected by the virus. In other words, what I'm trying to get at is that if you're eating right, then you can never really go, obviously you can't go wrong with that. So if you are not paying attention to your nutrition before the virus, then hopefully the virus really opens your mind on that, and you realize that that is something that you should be doing and always be doing anyway. So yeah, and then that kind of ties in even with like the busy queues and stuff. You should, if you're going to go and buy things that you really don't need, and obviously even the government has said that you should go for only essentials, then you're probably first, you might, it's going to be difficult to buy stuff right now anyway. So when you do go out, you have to make sure that you get the essentials. And even from a nutrition perspective, you should try and get the nutritional essentials, if you like, the most healthy options. Not saying that you have to go absolutely, obviously you take your time, be balanced. No one's telling you to go from eating the absolute junk to being the healthiest guy on the planet. Obviously you take your time, but hopefully this virus does open people's minds and their eyes to better nutrition. And I'd also say on that note, that kind of link into what we were saying before about making sure not to waste time and actually continuing to train, the same way people should be trying to still pay attention to the nutrition. Because if you're going to just make excuses and say, hey, I can't really train that well, let me just eat anything, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to work it off when when the gym's open again, then again, that's a stupid mindset to have, because you don't want to just become, a fat guy at home and extremely unhealthy. This is the time to become healthier. This should be a wake-up call rather than setting you back even more.
Mate, I can't describe what you're saying in a better way, because real talk, that's the truth about the situation. The truth about the situation is, yes, this is a wake-up call, but you need to make the most of this, because if you don't, you're going to continue on that same trajectory you're going down, right? It's the same across the board. People seem to think that just because someone has a good body, they're well across all the board. You need to be maximizing and looking for reaching your fullest potential and using this as a time to expand, your mind, your body. And speaking of expanding the mind, I guess we're going to be on this podcast for like maybe 5-10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk a bit about the whole Brian Rose, London Real situation, just real quick. So this Brian Rose, I've actually got a mate who went on to one of his courses. I don't personally think coronavirus is caused by 5G, but at the same time, I don't seem to understand why people are being taken out of the online world just because they're trying to say facts. What would be your opinion on that, man?
To be honest, bro, I don't actually know much about these. I haven't really looked into too many of these theories. I didn't watch this guy who came on the London Live thing. And as for the 5G thing, again, I'm not sure. Personally, if you ask me, I'll say that we're never gonna know. We don't know, and I don't really care. I'm gonna be brutally honest. Like, I mean, I care obviously about the virus and we have to take our precautionary measures, etc. But I'm saying what I don't, I wouldn't look too much into is what is the real cause, etc. The official cause that they're saying obviously is, cross contamination between certain animals and etc. in China. I personally think that could be the case. I mean, why not? It is relatively logical. You're always gonna have people who are gonna say, no, actually, I think that's not the case, and something else is, and this and that and that. I agree. Maybe it's not that, but really, us knowing the exact cause or not is not really gonna benefit us. What is gonna benefit us though is just making sure that you don't get it, right? So just taking the measures that the government have told you, and then also doing, if you're into fitness, then do the stuff that we're saying here and stuff like that.
I mean, leading off from what you're saying, man, I definitely agree. I mean, it's so easy for people to get caught up in conspiracy theories, no matter what you believe. But at the end of the day, I would say if there's an idiot, I want to hear that idiot speak. It's the same, even though Alex Jones saying, all these shootings are fake, obviously they're real, is something that's happened and people have died. But yes, he may be deluded, similar to David Icke as well. But let these idiots speak, because I'm not going to say, completely idiots. Some of the stuff they say may be true. Don't get me wrong. Like maybe stuff like 9/11, Iraq, and all of that other stuff, right? There's definitely a lot of elements of truth. But when they come out and say about, these one things that, people are reptilians and stuff like that, yeah, it's a bit out there and it's probably not true. But I still want to hear that person speak. When they remove people, it becomes a freedom of speech issue. And not only that, it makes them more famous and popular than they already were. And that, to people that maybe aren't thinking in the right way, it maybe does cause alarm and distress. And then people are going to go out and start burning down mosques and stuff like that. So, but with that being said, it is what it is. The truth, whatever it is, and it's out there, is going to come out someday. So it's important to realize that we have the potential within us and we need to focus on improving ourselves, because the world around us is chaotic. And the only reason why the world around us is chaotic is because humanity has chaos within itself. And through religion, through working out, through having the right mindset and community, you can realize your full potential as a society. So leading off from that, what I wanted to say, man, is thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I'm sure it's the first of many. Is there any last things we're going to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna touch a little bit on what you were saying. So I'd say that I agree that it can be problematic when people kind of get shut down and aren't allowed to say what they say. But I think that you kind of have to be balanced with these things. They have to be fair with these things, because I think at the same time, and I'm sure you've seen this, many people have been spreading certain theories on WhatsApp, many different things, and sometimes when people speak without knowledge or they're not qualified, they can actually do a lot more harm than good. They might, for example, start promoting the idea that this is nothing. It's not serious, go out, etc. And that really, it's not really a medical thing, it's a this and it's a political thing, etc., etc. The issue then is that some people may also misinterpret things, or some people may spread things that are just not true. So I think you have to look at it from a balanced perspective. On one hand, yeah, I agree with you, people should be allowed to say what they want to say. But on the other hand, if people are going to say things that are stupid or are simply not going to help people and they're going to make things worse, then maybe that is why they are kind of shut down. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it pretty much. I think that's everything for the most part. As I said, I think everything should be a wake-up call from a fitness perspective. And I know you touched a little bit on like religion and stuff, and obviously we're not going to go too much into these kind of things. I think just a quick thing is even just thinking, I think this is a good time for us to reflect on life, to ask the bigger questions. Why are we here? What is our purpose? Where are we going? Because if this world, obviously I'm coming from an Islamic perspective now, but I'm not going to go too much into this kind of stuff, because obviously this is mostly fitness stuff. But I do think it's important just to mention a little bit that, look, if this world is simply just for, just for going to work and making money, etc., if that's the case, then are you telling me that now, that because you're at home, your life has now no meaning? Is that what you're saying? And I think that the vast majority of people ought to at least reply with no. Surely there's more to it than just that. So it really should get us reflecting on many things, many of these big questions.
Mate, what you're saying is fantastic. And just to expand further on that, I mean, it's like this really is a wake-up call. I mean, let's be real about it. I mean, you look at, what a year 2020 has been so far from the start, potentially World War III, I don't even know, from meteors coming to hit the planet and all of this coronavirus and, conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Yeah, it's been a crazy and chaotic year. But the question is it going to be beneficial for you to take a step back and to become, a shallow person and someone that doesn't really ask these questions? Asking these questions, what is the greater purpose of your life? This is what this situation is showing us, right? And leading off, I think this is going to be one of the last things I say, is that, in my personal opinion, I think if that the government and everybody, if they had the greater good of people in them, in their mind, the solution to the problem of coronavirus isn't necessarily just within a vaccine form, right? Because that comes with its own negative aspects as well, such as chemicals and heavy metals being inside the vaccination. If they really have people's, best wishes at hand, the way to deal with it would be strengthening people's diets, strengthening people through exercise, reducing rates of smoking, reducing rates of, unproductive habits, maybe even stepping in the cold shower and realizing the full benefits that fitness has to offer. Because a population that is weak is a population that will succumb to disease. And I think this is really the difference of what we're seeing here in the UK in comparison to, let's say, Russia, who, yes, they have the virus, but it's spreading nowhere near as bad because their diet is better. Yeah, they may drink a lot, but they eat more naturally. And I think as a whole in society, and especially fitness, makes you realize that you need to eat well. And I'm always shocked myself because I never thought my diet was that good until I take a step back and I realize, I look inside the basket and I'm like, wow, this is pretty healthy, man. So in my opinion, I think it is, realizing that if governments really had the best interests, it would be more oriented towards vitamins, health, fitness, breathing exercises, cold showers, and doing that. But yeah, that's not the easy thing, and it's not something that's ever going to happen. Let's be real about it.
Yeah, and I guess then in that case, it's upon us individually as well to think about ourselves. If it's, if it's not going to be pushed upon us, I guess it shows true character and discipline when we do it ourselves, right? No one tells us to lift weights or to eat well, etc. So it really shows extra kind of discipline and willpower, if you like, when we do this kind of stuff ourselves. So I think that, yeah, that should definitely be a wake-up call in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, man. Definitely. And I guess leading off, thank you so much for coming on, man. Greatly appreciated. So this has been the second episode I've done. The first one is being myself, explaining the reasons why I'm doing these podcasts with different influences. But it's the start of something special, and it's great to have you on for the first one with someone in it.
Thank you very much, bro.
Fantastic, man. All right. Stay safe. Stay healthy, mate.
Take care, man. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.